Ancient Egypt was one of the most advanced civilizations that structures still stand tall today. Lasting for 30 centuries, the kingdom was ahead of its time, evident through the pyramids and the sophisticated processes used to lift heavy rocks hundreds of feet high. Human settlement in nowadays Egypt began around 40,000 BC, according to forensic evidence. The everlasting flow of the Nile hosted a mountain of flora and fauna, attracting early human beings. The rich, fertile soil on the banks of the river allowed for easy, efficient farming. Egypt was a powerful kingdom at the time and outlasted many other kingdoms, mainly due to the steady flow of the Nile River that combined with agriculture to create a solid output of income. However, ancient Egypt wasn't anything like the utopia it was painted as. The first epidemiological transition is prominent in the civilization. Tuberculosis, vector-borne and waterborne diseases like malaria and cholera, respectively, were very common. The average person in ancient Egypt didn't live past 30 years. Therefore, men and women were married at a very young age, as teens or preteens. Egyptian ideologies suggested for males to father as many kids as possible. Gender roles were common. Women were taught to stay at home, cook, and take care of their spouses. Men worked all day in the farm. Egypt was renowned for its medical knowledge in the ancient times. It is said that rulers from other kingdoms often asked for Egyptian physicians as they were the best. These physicians commonly advised the public to wash and shave the body regularly to stay healthy and without infection. They did not recommend eating raw fish or any other unclean animals. Egyptians believed that once dead, one will go into the afterlife only if mummified. The mummification process can tell us a lot about ancient Egyptians and their knowledge upon the body. They were aware that inner organs are in the body cavity and also removed the organs through incisions in the groin. They also knew how to remove the brain through the skull, through the nose. Egyptians believed that once dead, one will go into the afterlife only if mummified. The mummification process can tell us a lot about ancient Egyptians and their knowledge upon the body. They were aware that inner organs are in the body cavity and also removed the organs through incisions in the groin. They also knew how to remove the brain through the skull, through the nose.
For the ancient Egyptians, keeping clean was a big part of their life, not to stop the spread of diseases, but it was for social and religious reasons. But it was also a vital part to help stop diseases by washing themselves and animals. Ramses II was also said to have suffered with arthritis and along with dementia. Measles and yellow fever were also common diseases that people died with. Pneumonia, cancer, heart disease, high blood pressure, kidney stones, tuberculosis, trachoma, which is an infection to the eye, liver disease, curvature of the spine, and ovarian cysts were also other causes of death. Some of the most common diseases that you could find in ancient Egypt would be the common cold, malaria, which is an eye disease, and the bubonic plague took some lives. Smallpox, diarrhea, and typhoid also took many lives at this time. Ramses II was also said to have suffered with arthritis and along with dementia. Measles and yellow fever were also common diseases that people died with. Pneumonia, cancer, heart disease, high blood pressure, kidney stones, tuberculosis, trachoma, which is an infection to the eye, liver disease, curvature of the spine, and ovarian cysts were also other causes of death.
Egyptians believed that the heart was important and wrote about how it speaks out through the back of the head and hands. Information similar to this would be found in physicians' papyrus manuals. In these manuals, they describe how to treat minor illnesses. The Egyptians believed that many diseases came from worm-like creatures who invaded the body. Physicians and magicians worked together using medicine and spells to cure problems like snake bites and scorpion stings. Additionally, they also used magic to avoid possible injuries from crocodiles or ghosts from the dead. A disease was usually thought of as a consequence of a sin, but when this was not the case, the patient was thought of under a demonic attack by an angry ghost. Therefore, diseases were commonly treated through magical spells. The earliest doctors were magicians, for Egyptians also believed that diseases and sickness were caused by an evil force entering the body. Besides magical spells, they used incantations, amulets, offering, aromas, tattoos, and satire to drive away ghosts and demons. Many materials were considered to have specific properties. For example, henna was thought to aid hair growth, sumac was meant to prevent flatulence, garlic was thought to repel snakes and tapeworms, and castor oil was thought to help with constipation. While some of their assumptions have been proven accurate, many are not useful and can cause potential harm. For example, animal dung was sometimes used in treatment for open wounds. Plants played an important role in both magic and medicine. They were considered to be very valuable. These are some of the ingredients that were used in ancient Egypt: prescription for oral use, salves, and wound care. Acacia seeds and leaves, aloe, cannabis, castor oil, cedar oil, cilantro, date, fish, frankincense, garlic, goose fat, honey, juniper, mandrake, pomegranate juice and root, thyme, and willow leaves.
Hezi-Ra, 2700 BC, was chief of dentists and doctors to King Djoser. The first female doctor was Pesachit, 2400 BC. The top doctors worked in the royal court. Below them, the inspectors would supervise the actions of doctors. There were skilled dentists, proctologists, gastroenterologists, and ophthalmologists. And finally, there was a proctologist. Injuries caused by accidents or fighting were dealt with by the Sunu. Scorpion stings and snake bites, for which the Kerep Serkets knew the remedies. The Egyptians believed it as the work of gods caused by the presence of evil spirits in their bodies, and cleansing the body was the only way to get rid of their sicknesses. And in order to cleanse, incantations and prayers to the gods, all about to Sekhmet, the goddess of healing, curses, and threats, accompanied by an injection of nasty smelling and tasting medicines into the various bodily orifices, were hoped to prove effective. Many of the diseases in our societies that afflicted Egyptian populations many years ago, tuberculosis, malaria, and schistosomiasis, were commonly found, but diabetes was noticed. A high proportion of mummified corpses have died from tuberculosis. This has been shown through extraction from growth centers and areas of the bone. Tuberculosis is have been transmitted from domesticated cattle to humans in ways like consuming contaminated meats and the drinking of contaminated milk. A famous death of the Egyptian pharaoh Tutankhamun suggests malaria as the cause of death, with a different parasite, Schistosoma hematobium, urinary schistosomiasis. This was a major health problem along the Nile Valley, as many were fishers. Therefore, the calcified schistoma eggs had been found in many Egyptian mummies. Egyptian physicians at the time could fix broken bones and dislocated joints, and they did basic surgery, and they knew how to stitch wounds effectively. However, the only thing they did not do was perform surgery deep inside the body, as they didn't have the proper anesthesia at the time. Egyptian doctors rated 3 types of injuries in terms of severity. 1, treatable injuries. 2, contestable injuries, and untreatable ailments. The first one, they were dealt immediately. The second one, they were not life-threatening. Third one, the meaning is clear. The doctor would not even try, as in the patient is very serious. Everyday life in Egypt involved beliefs and fear of magic, gods, demons, and evil spirits. Luck and disaster were caused by angry celestial beings or evil forces. They believed that if illnesses and physical and mental disorders were partly caused by supernatural forces. Many healers were priests of Sekhmet and used science as well as magic and incantations while treating people. The religious and/or magic rituals and procedures probably had a powerful effect, which were likely seen as proof of their effectiveness.